Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Sox Machine Live. I am Josh Nelson alongside Jim Margulis as we are streaming live on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Sox Machine this fine Thursday night, May 19th. It is a beautiful night in the city of Chicago. So for those that are watching on their computers, tablets, and smartphones, thank you guys so much for watching the live stream. If you are listening to the audio version of this in the Sox Machine podcast, thank you guys so much for listening as we will be recapping the White Sox 5 games in 4 days at Kauffman Stadium as they won 3 out of 5. However, even though they did win that series, there are some major questions about the White Sox offense that we will address. The White Sox now head to the Bronx to face the New York Yankees, and we'll see if they can do better than they did last year where they got swept by the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Can the White Sox win a game there? And how will Johnny Cueto fare in his second start? We'll chat about that later in the show. But first, Jim, you made a visit to Birmingham. So tell us all about your trip to Birmingham this week to see the Barons.
Yes, now that I have a 5-month-old, it's harder to get away for a week or so. So the Barons happen to have a midweek night game followed by a day game. So I could just stay overnight, catch a couple games, see the entire lineup, then head back without causing too much stress at home. So good news is that I went there to look at Lenyn Sosa, Lenyn Sosa. I've been pronouncing his name wrong the entire time, Lenyn Sosa. And wanted to get a look at him because his numbers are great. Sure enough, first game there, he hits 2 homers. Second game, lines a single, has a 13-game hitting streak. So I saw what I wanted to see and what he'd been showing the entire season in person and got to talk to him a little bit, got to talk to Justin Jerschley, the manager at Birmingham, Charlie Romero, the hitting coach, even ran into Chris Getz on the concourse at Regents Field. So I got a chance to talk to him a little bit about Sosa. So I'm working on a story about him. Jose Rodriguez, I got to see a little bit of the good and the bad, running well, active on the base paths, still looks a little bit like trying to do too much. Romero said he was pull happy, thinking about just trying to get lift and power and make a difference and not quite letting the game come to him. Bad news is that the pitching is pretty much barren. Not Barren, not Baron, although they're kind of similar right now. They're kind of, basically the same. Sean Burke, he looks like he has potential, but I didn't get to see him. But the starters there with Davis Martin being called up and not a whole lot coming up besides Burke from Winston-Salem. Not a lot of pitching. Saw them give up 23 hits in the day game, blew a lead late in the night game. So it's rough on the pitching side, but the offense could be something, especially if Sosa has to hang around because of the infield logjam above.
That seems to be the theme this year for the White Sox minor league affiliates. And for those that want to catch up on the White Sox minor league affiliates, again, visit dailysoxmachine.com/Future Sox. It's Mike Rankin, James Fox, and the entire Future Sox crew. They do a terrific job following the White Sox minor leaguers and the affiliates and how they are doing with the minor league notes. So definitely check that out. And again, as always, follow them on Twitter at Future Sox and also listen to the Future Sox podcast every Tuesday and subscribe to their podcast. But that just seems to be the theme this year for the White Sox minor leaguers is that we're seeing impressive offensive performances, but the pitching is lacking. Like the White Sox they don't have enough arms right now to really cover adequately all 4 affiliates. You have some good performances here and there, but the overall depth is just not there on the pitching front for the White Sox.
Yeah, it was funny when I was originally planning this trip and looking like a week out, I thought, Davis Martin would be a good subject. Not a lot of people know about him. He's off to an interesting start in Birmingham. And the White Sox pitching depth is such that not only was he promoted to Charlotte, but he ended up making a spot start in Chicago as well. So, I mean, he deserved it. He's been looking good. He's been, pitching as well as he can in Birmingham and Charlotte so far. So, not a knock on him, but just more a matter of anybody who looks interesting right now, intriguing, promising on the pitching side, we'll be getting a look whether it's a bullpen or rotation.
Yes, the dart. We'll talk about the dart later in the show. The first impression that he provided along with Johnny Cueto in the series recap against Kansas City. But the Chicago White Sox are 19-19, so they're still at 500. After this series against the Yankees, our next episode of the Sox Machine podcast for you guys on Monday will be the first quarter of the season over. as the White Sox will reach game 41 of the 162 game season. And right now, the White Sox are 3 games back of the Minnesota Twins. So the White Sox have a very difficult series coming up against the Yankees. We'll talk more about that later in this episode. The Twins get to visit Kansas City. So while the White Sox have a very difficult weekend, the Twins could have a pretty easy weekend, and they got an opportunity here to pad their lead in the American League Central. And after Wednesday night, Jim, I got frustrated with the White Sox. I hosted a Twitter space and I vented.
You were derelict on the recap because you had to vent.
Yes, because the White Sox at the time were 6-12 against the American League Central. And that's the biggest problem I have with the way that the White Sox have started this 2022 season. Half of the games at this point have been against the American League Central. And if I told you that at the beginning part of the season, we would say the White Sox are going to have a strong start. They're going to have a strong start because they should do well against the Central. They were 44-32 last year against the Central. That is a .579 winning percentage. 19 division games. If the White Sox played at the winning percentage rate of last year, they would be 11-8 against the Central instead of 7-12. We should be talking, as far as meeting my expectations for the White Sox, a 23-15 White Sox team, Jim, not a 19-19 White Sox team. I guess the silver lining is, if you look at the expected win-loss record, the White Sox in 2022 are overachieving. Their expected win-loss record is 16-22 because their run differential is -27. So even though they're playing below my expectations, they're overachieving their actual performance. So after last night, I woke up this morning and I decided there's a lot of negativity. It's easy to be negative about this White Sox team right now, especially with the offense. They are sputtering. So I was looking for some optimism. Where can I find that to convince me that there's still hope in this season for the White Sox to turn it around? And I found it from the computers, which is usually not a place that I find such optimism. And I looked at the projection models. And starting with Baseball Prospectus, for those listening to the podcast feed, Baseball Prospectus is still the highest on the White Sox. Dakota is still projecting the White Sox to win the American League Central with an 89-73 win-loss record. At this moment, Jim, I would take that. Yes, I predicted the White Sox to finish 93-69. I think you had them at 92-70. I've lost all hope that they're going to reach those win totals. But if they could get to 89-73, I'd be ecstatic. Fangraphs has the White Sox now at 84-78, a dead tie with the Minnesota Twins, which they are also projecting the Twins now at 84-78. And Baseball Reference is the most dour out of the three. They have the White Sox not only finishing at 500 at 81-81, but they have the White Sox finishing a projected third in the American League Central, as they believe Cleveland will finish ahead of the White Sox in 2022 after the first 38 games and how things have fared. And looking at the playoff, or I should say the postseason odds, when I bring up Fangraphs, this is what gives me optimism right now, Jim. This graph, for the people that are listening to the podcast, still has the White Sox over a 60% chance of reaching the postseason and still ahead of the Minnesota Twins. And Cleveland, Kansas City, and Detroit are still far back. And then I look at Dakota and their bell graphs that they have, and they still have the graph a little bit ahead of the Twins as far as the simulated win percentage, as they do 1,000 simulations for the rest of the 2022 season. More times than not, the White Sox come back and they win the American League Central over the Minnesota Twins. So while my heart and my brain and my gut watching this White Sox team after 38 games, and we had this conversation on Monday, taking a snapshot of the season and watching what transpired in Kansas City, I was dour. After Wednesday night, I had the mindset of, how could you tell me this team is going to turn it around and make it to the postseason if they're 6-12 against the worst division in baseball. But trying to find optimism, I go to the computers and the projected models tell me, Josh, don't worry. We still have faith and we still think that the White Sox are going to turn it around. How are you feeling, Jim? And after displaying as far as that information from the projected models, does that inspire hope for you that, yeah, the White Sox, a turnaround is coming at some point?
I definitely get it. When you look at 89, 73, even like our original projections of 92 and 93 wins, like I can still see that happening, because if it does happen, it'll be because of not terribly surprising reasons. Like Tim Anderson keeps it up. Luis Robert looks like an MVP, maybe not an MVP season, but has like MVP runs in him over the course of the season. Yohan Moncada summons his strength. Eloy Jimenez comes back. Jose Abreu looks decent. He doesn't need to be an MVP guy himself, but looks decent. AJ Pollock is a contributor. Like, you look at the original lineup, it's all still there, and they all can get in a place to where, like, 1-7, 1-8 is pretty stout. Then you have Lance Lynn coming back, and you have whether it's Cueto, whether it's Velasquez, Martin, whoever else comes up to shore up the back end of the rotation. That should be fine, given how hard it is for starters or teams to find five starters. So I get it, and that's why I'm not terribly dour right now. However, I will say that when it comes to like how the White Sox might blow it, this is how they might blow it. Having this kind of start against the Central, letting the Central in, getting swept by the Twins, losing series to the Guardians. That's how they would, that's how they would fumble it. So this is how it's starting. Also, the White Sox do not have such a rich history of producing to where like you can trust them. I still think it's, trust but verify. Maybe you don't even have to trust. Maybe it's do not trust, force them to verify. Like, just that's what needs to be done. So like I can see it both ways, but I don't blame the optimist for feeling good, because baseball's fun and it should be, like, there's a lot of excitement coming into the year, and you shouldn't have your summer ruined. If you base your summer around baseball, you shouldn't have that ruined before Memorial Day for a team that's not out of it, that's treading water right now, but can still go on that kind of run that defines the team. If you're pessimistic though, like, yeah, I mean, like, Rick Hahn and Tony La Russa and the White Sox front office, Jerry Reinsdorf, et cetera, should be held accountable. Should they, this is what they lost intentionally for multiple years for. This is what they wasted fans' money for, was, putting out crap teams on purpose, was to have a kind of run that felt more, solid and sturdier than this. So, I think it's fair to be a little bit down and to make them prove that they're better than this, because they aren't yet. So I'm not down, but it's just, well, I mean, first of all, I think I tend to I revert more to gallows humor than anger, just because, I think if I were to get angry about this to where my blood pressure were affected, I think I would have stopped writing around, 2013. Probably that's when I probably would have called it quits. So, I just tend to shrug and maybe some of the things I wrote about, being troublesome or pain points came true, and maybe I look smart, and so I feel like I root for myself in that regard. But it just seems like it's not, they're not dead yet, but they still have to prove that they are more than the best team of a bad bunch.
If they don't win the American League Central, if they lose by 2 or 3 games to the Minnesota Twins, I think we could circle back to this point in time and say, well, if you didn't start 7-12 against the American League Central, you wouldn't have this problem. That's the hope, that they did not dig themselves too big of a hole that they can't climb out of.
Yeah, I think that's, I think the White Sox will change enough in terms of their shape, their constitution of the roster and such, to where they might have, runs that turn the tables on the Twins, or maybe a different cluster of games that ruins the season, maybe more like blown saves or, no show. So, right now they're not doing themselves any favors, but I think, there's still enough that can change about the season. I mean, the Twins also have their own personnel issues with injuries and guys who are fragile, to where, like, the getting beat by Byron Buxton early in the season might, be memorable, might have left an impression, but will he be there the entire season? They have some guys get hot and cold, like Max Kepler can go on heaters and then he disappears. So their pitching staff is a little bit raggedy right now. So they could have their own little crises here and there to where they're having the same arguments among themselves.
Yeah, the White Sox, they'll get this opportunity if you want to look ahead. July, the White Sox have a homestand for 1 week, and then the next week before the All-Star break, they go on the road to Cleveland and Minnesota, and then the first series after the All-Star break, they're at home against Cleveland. That could be a really pivotal time for the White Sox if they could continue to tread water and they put themselves in a position to really make up some ground against those two division teams, in particular in the Central, that have given the White Sox fits to start the 2022 season. One team, I wouldn't say they gave the White Sox fits, but the Royals are always annoying. And the White Sox won 3 out of 5 in this series. And my takeaway, Jim, is that the White Sox should have won all 5 games. They only scored 18 runs in these 5 games. So again, not even reaching 4 runs per game. The 2 games that they lost, they scored 1 run and they scored 2 runs.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 5th game, they scored a total of 7 runs. And that was a good victory for them because they were down 4-1 early in that game. And I really did think just the way the offense had been playing, I mean, the previous 3 games, they only scored 6 runs. It's like going to the dentist and having teeth pulled watching this White Sox offense at times. The Royals have scored 4. The White Sox are in boiling water. And thankfully, the offense turned around, big parts because of Tim Anderson and Luis Robert. And it just seems like in this series, Jim, Tim Anderson, especially after the first loss against the Royals, I would say Wednesday and Thursday, after Ozzie Guillen kind of called him out for not playing both games of the doubleheader, Tim Anderson elevated his game. And it just seemed to me that he was trying to will and lead this White Sox team to victory. And he's been really impressive these last 2 games in all facets, not just his bat, but his defense as well.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. He proved both Tony La Russa and Ozzie Guillen correct, which is hard to do given the disparity between like their opinions and how they go about it. But Anderson proved that when he's in the lineup, he makes a huge difference. He also proved his value to the team to where you may want to make sure he's there over the course of 6 months and he doesn't disappear for a 4-week chunk in the middle of the season to where especially when the rest of the offense is not getting it going. So you understand why the White Sox are trying to pace him, and especially when he plays with the kind of energy that he did on today, drawing walks, stealing bases. Like he's got some nice first of all, he's hitting 348, I think. And he's got some nice separation now between his OBP and his average. Like usually his OBP outpaces his average by like 30 points. And so you need every one of his bloop singles and infield hits and so forth to have that kind of leadoff impact. But now he's got 50-point separation in there, coming up on that, which is nice, especially when it comes, to an offense that can't draw walks. And, I missed the Brady Singer game. That's when I was in Birmingham for that one. I saw the box score and I laughed. Just just any right-hander, coming up for an emergency start can do it. And so when Carlos Hernandez started for the finale, and you look at his numbers, and he's got more walks and strikeouts, and he's got a 9.11 ERA. It almost felt like over the course of the series, they started with Brad Keller, and they ended with Carlos Hernandez. They kept the bar high, and then they kept lowering it, and the White Sox still weren't hitting. So okay, we're going to drop the degree of difficulty down to Carlos Hernandez. It's like the Royals saying, please hit him, please do something. This is the way I put in the recap was like a remedial course in building an inning, just, taking pitches. They just cannot string together sequences, and failing that, they cannot come up with extra base hits to create instant offense. So they can't do it the long way. They can't do it the short way. So, Hernandez is here with gifts to, allow them to have 4 or 5 productive at bats in a row. And it looks shaky early, but eventually they figured it out and drew 5 walks over 3 innings. And, they only scratched together 3 runs, but they kept the pressure on even when the bullpen came in. And that was nice to see, but they really need more of that. And I think, Anderson's important, but then you see Luis Robert finally coming through with the home run. They had 12 singles in a row before that homer. And, there's just, the offense looks so, even like when they're going first to third, which is normally an exciting, fluid baseball play that says like, oh, this is, you can't keep them contained at 90 feet at a time. It still feels like station to station because that last 90 feet is so hard for them. So to, have that, Robert coming through with that homer, that no doubter, that, just kind of staring it down out of the box, very cathartic homer. I still think that the combo of them, Anderson and Robert, the on base percentage, the constant stream of offense and activity from Anderson, and then that extra base potential from Robert, I think, they're what's necessary for the White Sox to move. And unfortunately, Robert's still learning how to, fend off how pitchers are attacking him. So he disappears for games at a time, sometimes just getting out of sorts. And Anderson, sometimes has impatient games that contribute to that, 0 or 1 walk game across the lineup. So there are sometimes, I think, the White Sox are lucky to have both of them, but when they're the ones driving the offense and Yoan Moncada, disappears for basically an entire series, and, AJ Pollock isn't quite, providing that kind of impact towards the top of the lineup, and Andrew Vaughn's, still not quite looking like the same as he was before the hit by pitch, to where like, I think you're seeing some of the problem with having so much of the offense riding on them is that, they can be pitched to, or at least Anderson really can't, but, he's limited to singles, basically, the way his approach goes. If you limit him to singles, it's still a long way around the diamond for him based on who's coming up behind him and how they're hitting. So they're fine to, just give up an opposite field single and then make somebody else do it. And right now, seeing Robert come through that homer was very refreshing, but now the pitching gets tougher. It's no longer Carlos Hernandez in the inconsistent Kansas City bullpen. It's now the Yankees with one of the better run prevention units in the league.
Well, Robert had 2 big home runs in this series. He won game 1 of the 10th inning with that 2-run homer with 2 outs. That would have been another headache if he doesn't hit that homer, because Tim Anderson and Yoan Moncada could not move the runner from second base. So that was a big home run for Luis Robert in game 1. And then he has the big home run to really blow the game wide open for the White Sox in game 5 in over the 4 days. And as you mentioned, for Tim Anderson, he's technically hitting 346 now, but he's got a 386 on base percentage, and he's slugging 493. So Tim Anderson's got an 879 OPS. That is incredible. Luis Robert is back over 800 OPS. He's at 810. He's hitting 301 with a 338 on base percentage, slugging 472. I feel like Luis Robert is in midseason form with that slash line gem as he leads the team with 6 home runs. Andrew Vaughn has a 792 OPS, but as you mentioned, he's not hitting the ball as well since coming off the IL. And for the players that are with the Chicago White Sox right now, that's it. Those are your 3 hitters that have an OPS above 700. Everyone is well below 700. We brought this up on Monday Sox Machine podcast. We're going to bring it up again. Everyone is way below 700 OPS. I'm looking on the list. There's not even guys above 650.
I'm looking at May.
Jose Abreu's at 625. Gavin Sheets is at 614. Remember, we talked about Sheets that he was just 1 point below 700. He was at 699 on Monday. Now he's down to 614. I'm not exactly sure what he's bringing to the White Sox lineup at the moment.
Yeah, I'm looking at May. I thought May might be better, but nope. It's Robert at 950, Anderson at 898, and then Engel at 690.
Yeah.
Leury is 4th at 668.
Yeah, Lurie's been hitting the ball better in the month of May, but this White Sox offense. So
no
back
walks
to
and
the
10 strikeouts though for Garcia. I thought Pollock was, I guess Pollock's resurgence is a bit more recent, but he's at 579.
Yeah, it's just this White Sox offense. So back to the optimism and the projection models. I'm assuming the projection models think that this White Sox offense is going to get better, and they're going to start averaging around 4.3 to 4.4 runs per game. Now, honestly, that's not a lot of runs per game for a team as talented as the White Sox. But if they could hit that total, Jim, with the pitching that we have seen, especially in the starting front for the White Sox, that's going to be good enough. We're going to see a lot of tight games, but if they could start winning more like 5-3 games, that'd be great instead of these 3-2 types of ball games that just really add a lot of stress and tax the pitching rotation. but all eyes are on this White Sox offense. We're still waiting. Like in game 5 today, they came back, and they came back in large part because Tim Anderson and Luis Robert are awesome. We're still waiting for Jose Abreu, who had a decent series against Kansas City. We are still waiting for Abreu now to start hitting for power. He's got 3 home runs on the season. Like Jose Abreu is not even on pace to hit 20 homers this year. Same thing with Yasmani Grandal. And AJ Pollock might be a dead cat. Like he might be this year's Adam Eaton, the way that he's currently playing. The veterans need to really pick it up. Anderson and Robert proved today that they could carry the White Sox offense and lead them to victory. And they have been doing that pretty much all season long. But the reason why the White Sox are at 500 is because this is an offense that's averaging 3.5 runs per game. And all we are asking is to get that offense to increase it by 1 more run per game, get it to 4.5 runs. If they can do that, then I think we're to see a lot more wins pile up, especially against American League Central opponents. Because to the next topic, I want to chat with you about the starting pitching. And this was a surprise. I was not expecting Johnny Cueto to throw as well as he did, even though it is the Kansas City Royals, because his appearances with the Charlotte Knights were either hit or miss. And the Dart, Davis Martin, having one heck of a first impression and battling Brady Singer and doing all he could to keep the White Sox in that game. We're going to see Cueto again as Davis Martin was optioned back to Charlotte. So let's talk about Johnny Cueto, Jim. From what you saw in his start against the White Sox, is this sustainable? Is this something that he could help with being the 5th or maybe even the 6th starter in this rotation?
I guess we'll find out. That's a boring answer, but when it came to, I'll say that, not just speak to hedge bets, just watching him, the way he executed was excellent. Like there was no fluke about his 6 scoreless innings. Like with Davis Martin, some of the hard hit balls that he endured and such, and maybe the park helped him out a little bit. That's a case where he got a little bit lucky, but that's fine. It's a major league debut. Don't get too greedy. But Cueto was executing, especially the first 3 innings. He was hitting his spots. The fastball was riding like 2-seamer, 4-seamer, both had movement. He was hitting, all 4 corners of the zone to lefties and righties and locking them up and jamming them. Next 3 innings was, a little more misses in front of the plate, like a lot of sliders over the zone that the maybe the Royals, maybe being under talented or maybe just on guard for the fastball, just didn't quite capitalize on those, more of those rolling breaking balls. So he got a little bit lucky in the second half of that start, but the execution for the first 3 innings, that was, hard to top. And I think like if you're facing the Yankees in that mode, maybe they might make him work a little harder, more foul balls, maybe make him throw more pitches in the sequence to get a mistake, but they weren't going to damage him based on how he looked. So from here, it's a matter of, can he do it again? Can he have that kind of 3 innings again? If he can he extend it better into the 4th and 5th innings? Is it an endurance thing, or is it just more of a matter of like when he's feeling fresh, he's great. When he gets a little bit of fatigue sets in, he's pedestrian. That's the kind of thing I'm looking at. I mean, going from the Royals to the Yankees is a very, I guess, there's a chasm between those 2 offenses to where like, I don't think, should I guess expectations be met and he dominates the Royals and he gets shelled by the Yankees, I don't think you'll be able to judge him off either start. Like I guess you're gonna need a tiebreaker for a 3rd start just to understand what he is against a more normal offense. I think that'd be the Red Sox, right? I think if they keep the rotation, there are a couple off days, so they might juggle a little bit. It's either the Red Sox or the Cubs will be facing next, so the Cubs might not teach them anything either. But when it comes to an average offense, I think we'll have a better idea of just exactly what he can do. But it was encouraging. It was better than he looked at any point in Charlotte, although he had some moments in Charlotte, and it did lend some credibility to the idea that he knew his job was secure as long as he stayed healthy, and it's just about getting working and building up and proving that he could handle a major league workload.
Yeah, that 2-seam fastball, especially attacking hitters in the upper part of the zone, that was impressive watching Johnny Cueto, and hopefully he can still dot that corner against the Yankees hitters. They may be looking for that pitch, however, so we'll see if he can use his timing and his little shimmy to throw off the Yankees hitters. You got to throw strikes, though, because, again, we found out this past weekend in Chicago, the Yankees hitters have no problem taking their walks. So as long as Cueto is still throwing strikes and he's able to live in the zone somewhat and avoid hard contact, he should be fine against the New York Yankees. Davis Martin, someone that White Sox fans did not know a lot about or didn't know who this guy was at all before he pitches for the White Sox. First 2 innings, he was in the danger zone a little bit. He was getting ahead of hitters, but he didn't have a wipeout pitch. But then after the third inning, he was racking up the strikeouts against the Kansas City Royals hitters. And I love the nickname, the Dart. I know you weren't part of the live stream, Jim, but we were trying to come up with nicknames for Davis Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a lot of like Davey, Marty, typical baseball nicknames. And then someone suggested in the comment section, D-Mart, like Kmart. And that was decent. And then someone's like, well, just drop the M and just call him the Dart. And then that stuck. We loved it. So I hope he likes it as well, because it's going to stick. You can't give yourself your own nickname. So sorry, Davis. You are now Davis the Dart Martin.
Especially if he hits his spots.
Especially if he can hit his spots. Yeah, it's a good pitching nickname. Out of the White Sox 7th or 8th starting pitching options, because we know that they're going to have double headers later in this season, is he ahead of Jimmy Lambert now? Like, are we going to see Davis Martin again this season, Jim?
I think so. Lambert was on the injured list. The Jeff Cohen, our future Sox correspondent at Charlotte, said it was a shoulder stiffness, and he came back through an inning, walked to, I think he threw 8 of 17 pitches for strikes. So he is not really in command of anything and still not throwing multiple innings. So Lambert, I think, has to prove that he can go probably 5 in Charlotte before he factors into any plan. Mm-hmm. So I think as long as Martin stays healthy and looks anything close to like he has been in Birmingham and Charlotte so far, that, yeah, he would be the guy. I sped watched like his pitches, so I didn't really get an idea of like rhythm and sequencing. So when it came to like how he looked, how would I talked about like how Cueto would fare against the Yankees and where like the danger might lie, like say for Martin facing a better offense, like how did he look, or how would you project his performance in his debut against a better offense?
So if he was facing the Yankees, I think the slider would run into some problems.
Yeah,
at times his slider hung up a little bit. I think that would get crushed by a really good Major League Baseball team. So he's got to work on that. But the changeup was impressive. He would throw curveballs against lefties. That was something new. Like, he threw a 4-pitch mix against Kansas City. So if he's working with Yasmani Grandal, and let's say the slider gets hit early, he has other pitches that he can fall back to. He's not like Michael Kopech, for example. If Kopech loses the slider, all right, it gets easy, right? Fastball, curve. Those are the only 2 pitches you got to worry about, because Kopech doesn't have a changeup. But Davis Martin, he has a true 4-pitch mix. The question I've got is the velocity was all over the place. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the TV gun was weird, but looking back at Baseball Savant, like, he ranged from like 90 to 96. So I don't know if that was on purpose, that he has the ability at this young age to be able to take speed off the fastball to give different looks of his 4-seamer. If he is doing that, that's pretty impressive. That's advanced, what they call pitchability, to be able to mix speeds with certain pitches.
Yeah, it was funny. Like I was talking to Kurt Bloom about him, because I mentioned that Kurt Bloom is the Birmingham radio broadcast. I think 31 years he's been in the booth. Yes. Like, he's a great guy and a wealth of information. And I was talking to him and I said, like, oh, it's a shame I missed Davis Martin, because I was going to write about him. He said, yeah, given the lack of pitching in Birmingham, he really stood out. But also just what you mentioned, like, he was surprised by how he added and subtracted from his fastball and found good velocity later in his starts, like with runners on from the stretch. Like, he could ramp it up when need be, and he could take off, conserve a little bit of it when it wasn't needed, and seem to do it without getting damaged. So he did cite that he could access a couple ticks on his fastball when threatened.
I think Davis could hold his own against a team like Cleveland. But an advanced lineup like the Yankees, or if the Red Sox hit, or like even the Houston Astros, it would be tough. I mean, it's tough for Dylan Cease and Lucas Giolito and Michael Kopech. against those types of teams. I think that's where he would struggle. But I have to say, I know it's just one start. It's a first impression. I don't know how many more times we're going to see him start this season. But if I was another team in Major League Baseball, if I was a professional scout and I put in the tape, I would ask about Davis Martin in a future trade, especially if I was a team like the Cincinnati Reds that's looking to unload some more starting pitching. Just because I think he has the ability to be a back end of the starting rotation type of starting pitcher, which isn't, glamorous by any stretch of the imagination.
Dane Dunning-ish.
But I think it is a bit Dane Dunning-ish. Yeah. Even though I still think I like Dane Dunning stuff better.
Mm-hmm.
And I still believe Dane Dunning can be as good as a mid-rotation type of starter, like someone as a number 3 starter in a rotation. I'm still pretty high on Dane Dunning. But I think Davis Martin, I agree with Tony La Russa. La Russa said after the game that Davis Martin is a major leaguer. And I agree with La Russa. I think Davis Martin can be a major league starting pitcher. But when you look at the Chicago White Sox rotation, he's not better than Giolito, Cease, Kopech, or Lynn. And right now, I think the White Sox are just stick with the veterans in Keuchel and Cueto. But at least there's some hope or more hope that if the White Sox do have someone going on the injured list or they need someone to make a spot start, and if Davis is ready to go, I have some confidence in the dart to put the White Sox in a position to win a game.
Yeah, or assuming Keuchel hits free agency and Vince Velasquez does, like they could, use a 5th starter next year. So, he might have a hard time finding starts this year, but I mean, still he's building up his resume. The thing that would be unfortunate about trading him is that, like, we've watched other teams like the Guardians and the Dodgers and the Rays, like, find guys and like, where'd this guy come from? 3rd day draft pick. Now he's throwing 97th, great secondary stuff. Or like, how do this cutter came out of nowhere? Or, and the White Sox have not had that story, but here's that story. Like, Martin was a low 90s guy. He was, maybe hit 94 at Texas Tech. Mm-hmm. And now he's got, now he's hitting 96. Now he's got some, life on his fastball. He's channeling his spin better. So getting some ride on it. The changeup has improved. The slider he likes too. So he's got weapons against lefties and righties. He's actually better. Like, I would say like Lambert's, one of the issues with him is that he does not have an answer for a left-handed hitter. So they see him once and they get like, oh, I got the idea. And then like he's lucky to get 3 innings. Whereas Martin likes his changeup enough to where like lefties have found him harder to hit in the minors. Like, when he's done damage, it's because of those rolling sliders or maybe misplaced fastballs when his fastball was, low 90s versus mid 90s. So, there's a case here where this is that guy and this is that solution out of nowhere that can, help you save some money and allocate it to other spots. So that's why, I don't think he's unmovable, but I think, I just wonder, given the recency of his success, will he all that much on the market to where the White Sox are better keeping him to, be a potential solution for one of the few holes they may have in the roster next year.
Absolutely. If I was a scout from another team, Jim, I would tell my bosses, we should keep an eye on this Davis Martin guy. There may be something there that Chicago has. And if they're desperate and they're willing to move some prospects, that might be a guy to ask about, out of all the White Sox prospects. But we got a lot of questions in our YouTube comment section about, is Davis Martin ahead of Jimmy Lambert in the pecking order? I think so, Jim. Yep. I think the next time the White Sox need a spot starter and they need to call someone up from Charlotte, I think it's Davis Martin.
Yeah, assuming, on schedule,
on
like
schedule.
I said, where he didn't just pitch 2 days before. But I think he would be the guy. They would make plans for him. They might have to call up somebody for emergency use, but if they had to plan around 2 or 3 starts, they would arrange the schedule accordingly because nobody else is really challenging him there.
All right, so we're going to preview the Yankee series, but before we do that, a quick PSA. So we, along with our friends from the 108, will be hosting a pregame party, the hashtag 108ing road trip to Minneapolis. We're going to be there July 15th. That's a Friday. We're going to be there Saturday, July 16th for that last series before the All-Star break as the White Sox visit the Minnesota Twins. We have a pregame party that we are hosting at the North Loop Galley, and it's a great deal working with them and big thanks to that particular bar working with a bunch of White Sox fans. I can't tell you guys how difficult it has been trying to find a downtown Minneapolis bar to work with us, but they've been willing to work with us. Tickets are on sale right now on soxmachine.com. Jim, I believe we've already sold 60 tickets on the very first day. It is limited capacity. 150 people fit in the bar. It's $30 per person, and you get 3 beer tickets for that $30. So that covers your beer, and that covers the space, renting that out as far as the bar at North Loop Galley. It is an 8-minute walk from the bar to Target Field. So it's very close to the stadium. We're really excited to see everyone. So if you are already planning to be in Minneapolis for that weekend, or you're a White Sox fan that lives in Minneapolis, get your tickets now on soxmachine.com before they sell out. We're very confident they are going to sell out. It's just $30, and it starts at 10:30 in the morning and goes into 1 p.m. right before first pitch at Target Field. So as we wrap up with the pregame party, we could all walk together and get to our seats before the first pitch of the White Sox versus the Minnesota Twins. So again, go to soxmachine.com and buy your tickets now for the hashtag 1080 road trip Minneapolis pregame party at North Loop Galley. All right, so the Chicago White Sox now head to the Bronx to face the New York Yankees. And we don't have to tell you how good the Yankees are. Everybody knows how good the Yankees are. They did lose today as the Baltimore Orioles walked off the Yankees. So the Yankees finally have 10 losses on the season, Jim. They finally got to double-digit losses. The thing about that series for the Yankees and Orioles is I am enjoying, I don't know if it's smack between the two, but it's definitely jabs at people are jabbing at the Yankees because of the short porch at Yankee Stadium and how the Yankees are taking advantage of that. Then you watch games in Baltimore and you see that the left field wall has been pushed back, and it's caused significant problems on how Camden Yards works. And that walk-off home run just like rides the left field line into the only little section that did not get pushed back in left field. And Yankees fans are upset of the build a park type
I
of
did
fence.
like that line from Aaron Boone. The build your own park.
Build your own park. It looks, you know what? The pictures at Camden Yards, it looked weird. And I'm pretty sure Eloy Jimenez is going to hurt himself in fielding a fly ball to that wall when the White Sox visit Baltimore.
I don't know if he'll get there. Like, I think his best catch ever was in PNC Park because he can just run. He can run and he can run, he can run. He won't run into anything because he can't get there at full speed. So that might be the kind of outfield for him where he can just run and frolic.
I'm worried about that corner though, because it sticks back out into center field. Like
I'm hoping
I can
that's
just see
Robert
him
territory.
running to the wall.
Hoping that's Robert territory.
Well, I'm hoping Robert doesn't run into that corner.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of funny in how that Yankees and Orioles series went down. And for the White Sox, the probable pitcher. So there's been some changes here that happened shortly after the Thursday night game. So on Friday night, 6:05 p.m. Central Time, it will be Dallas Keuchel starting the game against the Yankees. And already Yankees media are kind of dreading this game because the New York Yankees, for some odd reason, cannot figure out Dallas Keuchel. So hopefully that trend continues for the White Sox. Johnny Cueto was originally slated to start the Sunday night ESPN game, but now he's been bumped up. He will start the Saturday game because Michael Kopech is in paternity leave, but the mother of his upcoming child still hasn't delivered the baby yet. So that's why he hasn't been with the White Sox. So the paternity leave may be extended. Right now, it is tentative that Michael Kopech will make that start on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. But if he cannot make that start, it'll be Dylan Cease starting that game for the White Sox Sunday night. And if you do not want to watch the ESPN broadcast, or if you don't want to listen to the ESPN broadcast, we will be hosting a playback watch party with our friends from the 108s. For Sunday Night Baseball between the White Sox and the New York Yankees. That's going to start at 6 p.m. Central Time. So hopefully Jim will be with us this time
Yes.
as we'll provide our commentary. I've asked Playback if we could have the A-Rod broadcast. So it could be true mystery Science Theater 3000 type, Jim, where we could kind of make fun of Alex Rodriguez and his broadcast, but probably won't get that broadcast. We'll just get the regular game broadcast. But if you don't want to watch the ESPN Sunday night broadcast, or at least listen to that commentary, you can join our watch party. You can chat with us and listen to us for that Sunday night broadcast. And then we'll be back again Tuesday night when the White Sox are at home against the Boston Red Sox, and the following Tuesday as the White Sox travel up to the Blue Jays. And again, the watch parties are hosted on Playback. All right, Jim. So the last time the White Sox and Yankees faced each other was this past week at a Guarantee Rate Field. The Yankees won 3 out of 4. I've got a bad feeling about this series. What can you tell me?
Well, I was going to say I have a good feeling. Well, I have a good feeling in that I'm happy the White Sox got to play the 4-game series at home. Like this game is, this series is only 3, and that makes me feel okay.
How will the White Sox not get swept by the Yankees in the Bronx?
Maybe a little bit of short porch fun themselves. Well, I think Cueto could, if he pitches like he did, that can help. It also wouldn't hurt, given the Yankees offense, like to have a blowout that helps them save an offense, or save the bullpen for like, the important outings. Like part of the problem with the White Sox is that they've, the close games have been both wins and losses. So there is always need for Kendall Graveman, Matt Foster, et cetera. Like say if they, Cueto gets roughed up or Keuchel gets roughed up, like, it might have a chance for Tony La Russa to leverage his best arms to eke out a win somewhere else. Like, like he did with the Keuchel start where Keuchel went 5, wanted to go 6, but he had all his bullets in the chamber when it came to his bullpen, and he used all of them and it worked out. I can see a similar thing unfolding here. I think the one I'm most interested in is Kopech, because his velocity was down last time. Mm-hmm. His stuff looked really flat, and whether that's a dead arm thing, whether that's a health thing, maybe it's given I remember what the week before delivery was like, and that's maybe who knows, maybe that's affecting him. But I'm curious how he comes back, what his velocity looks like, the life on his stuff, whether that's back, because we're talking about Davis Martin, we're talking about Cueto, and we're talking about, Lance Lynn maybe coming back in early June. Kopech's condition and the quality of his stuff could have something to say about that before any names have to be removed from, any names lose like the game of musical chairs.
And if Dylan Cease is ready to go, because I think that's normal rest for him, is Sunday, I almost feel like they should go with Cease, Jim, and then Kopech gets another day off, not just a Sunday, but also that Monday the entire team has off. Mm-hmm. And then he could take the ball Tuesday against the Boston Red Sox. We love storylines. Would that be the first time Kopech starts a game against the Red Sox? I think he's faced the Red Sox in relief. But
yeah, he
may have. Yeah, the doubleheader, right? A 7-inning doubleheader against Boston.
I'm looking it up right now.
I think that may be the case. Yeah. Now,
yes. It was a 3-inning start.
3-inning start. Yeah. And he was pretty dynamic in that start. Yeah. So he could face the team that drafted him on that Tuesday night against the Boston Red Sox, which the Boston Red Sox are showing some life finally, especially offensively, against the Houston Astros in this week's series. So just thinking aloud that way, like I almost prefer going that route. If Cease just stays on his normal schedule, then it's okay if Kopech can't go on Sunday. So even though we put up the graphic saying that Kopech's the probable starter right now, that is the plan. But if Kopech can't go, the fallback plan is Dylan Cease, which is great. You could have Kopech start on Tuesday, and then you can go Giolito on Wednesday, and then go down the list. Cueto Thursday, day off. Keuchel could start against the Cubs, and pretty soon you're going to have Lance Lynn. I was going to say you're going to have Lance Lynn making rehab starts soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Cease get an extra day, though. It seems like the last couple of times out have been hard-working outings for him, and he's been carrying a lot with Giolito out for a little bit and Lynn out for the whole time. So he could probably use a couple days off himself, with by baking some off days into the schedule.
True. but he's been awesome.
Yeah.
If you're to showcase someone, again, it's a national broadcast. We know how the voting goes for the Cy Young. If Cease makes that Sunday night start, Jim, and he strikes out 10 and gives up 2 runs against the Yankees, he's going to plant that seed amongst voters of the American League Cy Young that he should be someone considered for the award. I know it's early, but I'm already starting to see like MLB Network on their shows ranking the top 5 pitchers of the American League Cy Young, and Cease is not in that top 5, which I think is a little crazy. I think for sure right now he's in the top 5, but having that opportunity in a national showcase game to display what he can do, I think he can impress an entire country watching him, especially at Yankee Stadium facing that Yankees team. But you are right, though. If you can give him an extra day of rest and then he picks up the ball again Tuesday night against the White Sox, then you're in great shape. I mean, you got Cease and then Giolito going back to back.
Yep. Either way, I think it's fine. But just watching Cease the last 2 times out, another tough offense coming up to where like it could be a grind a little bit.
It will be a grind. And we'll be recapping the series between the White Sox and Yankees on the Monday Sox Machine podcast. Hopefully the White Sox win at least one game. And again, they just tread water. That's the goal right now for the White Sox, is just continue to tread water. Don't drown. Let's not see the Twins sweep the Royals this weekend and the White Sox get swept. And then on Monday, we're talking about the White Sox 6 games back of the Twins. Let's avoid that situation, White Sox, at all costs this weekend against the Yankees. Let's watch the White Sox win at least one game, and let's go Royals. Help out the White Sox. Hey, the Reds helped out the White Sox this week, winning a couple of games from the Guardians. So that is great news on the White Sox, at least on that front. But that will do it for this episode of Sox Machine Live. Thank you guys so much that watched the live stream on youtube.com/Sox Machine. Again, we'll have our upcoming live stream this Sunday night for Sunday night baseball between the Chicago White Sox and the New York Yankees. And again, Tuesday night, another watch party as the Boston Red Sox visit Chicago to face the White Sox to wrap up that season series. If you just discovered the Sox Machine podcast or Sox Machine Live, you can follow us on Twitter. We're at Sox Machine. You can follow me on Twitter at Sox Machine_Josh. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Sox Machine. And if you don't have the opportunity to watch the live stream, or you can't sit down in front of your computer and watch the hour-long show on our YouTube channel, and you want to listen to the podcast feed, you can subscribe to the Sox Machine podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And whether you're new to Sox Machine or been a longtime lurker, think about helping support us at patreon.com/Sox Machine, where our Patreon supporters, they get more. They get exclusive content. They get ad-free versions of the podcast and website. And when we have new Sox Machine swag, they get the first opportunity to acquire that swag. We have monthly plans starting at just $2 a month, and you can save with an annual subscription. Again, you can sign up at patreon.com/Sox Machine. Sox Machine Live is a production of SoxMachine.com, your home for all things Chicago White Sox baseball, and part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. Alongside Jim Margulis, I'm Josh Nelson. Thanks for watching and listening.